Back to the Beyond Elevated Show. My name is Robert Wilson, and I'm going to be hosting today. So I know you guys are familiar with seeing a lot of the faces on here. And for those of you who are listening on the podcast, that's being played all over the world on iTunes, Spotify, Amazon, your favorite podcast player. But without further ado, I want to introduce my brother from another mother, all the way from Atlanta, Georgia, Mr. P. Diddy, Percy Jones, Percy Lee Jones, Percy Jones and Company, the one, the only Percy Jones. What up, player?
What's going on, man? Another week. We got another weekend of great football, man. I cannot wait to dig into it because I got some stuff for you personally.
Okay.
Woohoo!
You
You were
nothing.
blowing up our
Uh-oh.
text chat, and I got some stuff for you.
I can't
Oh
wait.
boy.
I can't wait. Please feel free to call me out because I can't wait to talk about the first two games that you called upsets for. So let's just talk about them. But before we do that, we got to make sure that we introduce everybody on the panel. We are joined today by somebody who needs no introduction, coming all the way from Arlington, Texas, Mr. Ryan Lillis. Seeing him wear that Texas Tech hat. What up, Ryan?
Hi guys, I'm doing great. I'm hoping you guys are well too. And boy, that escalated quickly. I mean, we got a minute and a half. All right, looking forward to this one. Let's get cooking.
I want to send a shout out for Ryan because Ryan is just so easygoing and he's so great to be working with. And the other thing I wanted to say, Ryan, is you've probably done like probably 10 to 12 shows with us now, and you have a very big supporter. And I think it's important to call out your big supporter. Your father likes every single one of our podcasts on different channels on LinkedIn, on Twitter, and he's always reposting it and resending it. So let's just make sure we give a shout out to Mr. Lillis. And
Sure,
Shout out to Steve. Love you, Dad. I love how tech savvy you are. I mean, it amazes me every day. Love you. Shout out, Steve.
yes, thank you, Mr. Lillis. And then we have a return guest, believe it or not. He did so well on the first one. I got overwhelming response from Percy and Ryan to have him back on. So maybe he's going to continue and turn into a regular panelist, but he's got to prove it first. So he's on here for another trial run, and that's my cousin, who I've always looked up to as a brother, from Columbus, Ohio. However, always repping Chicago. Don't want you guys to ever get that wrong, Mr. Corey Malik Wilson. Corey, are you there?
Hey, it's time. It's time. I'm ready. Time to get rid of the pretenders and let's get to the contenders of the NFL. It's the meat and potatoes right now. Let's do it.
It is the meat and potatoes, and wild card week has always been a staple in the NFL. It just passed. Obviously, you guys know this is the second year in a row that they switched to 7 teams instead of 6 teams in the playoffs. And another major change that they made in the last 2 years is only 1 team gets the bye from each conference instead of 2. So we're going to start off. We're going to probably say the games in the order that they happened, and it was from last year to this year. Last year we had a lot of lopsided victories, and people were saying, you could hear all the haters saying, this is why you need 6 teams instead of 7 teams, and you don't need to expand the playoffs. But this year I think it was done really, really well. They scheduled it right. They started with the game started on Saturday, and we had obviously the San Francisco 49ers as the 2nd seed beating the Seattle Seahawks, and this was a bad beating. We're going to start with Percy first, and just to remind Percy actually picked the Seahawks not only to cover the 13-point spread, but he also picked them to win the game. They didn't do both. They lost both, and it was a really, really good game, but San Francisco was just a little too much for them. What did you think about the game, Percy?
No, it was definitely a good game to watch. The first half was very, very exciting. If I'm not mistaken, Seattle was up 17-16 at the half. So coming into the second half, I was tuned in. But hey, man, turnovers. If you commit a lot of turnovers, the chances of you winning the game are slim. And what happened, Gino fumbled the ball in the red zone, and after that, it was lights out. The 49ers did what teams of that caliber do in big games, and they got the fumble. I believe they went down and they scored. Then literally the next play, Gino threw an interception. Game
Yeah,
over.
and they lost 41-23, but I want to make sure that we don't cast it in the light where Gino played bad. I mean, he was 25 for 35. He had 253 yards with 2 touchdowns and an interception. The fumble did hurt, but Percy, they lost 41-23. Division game, beat them 3 times in the season. That rarely happens. But it's coming out of Seattle camp here that they're gonna try to extend Gino's contract here and go with him. Do you think that's the right move?
I think they should. I believe he exceeded all their expectations from that offseason coming into camp, and I believe he had like 70% he finished off the season with. I mean, why
Yeah,
not give him
he finished first in completion and pass completion percentage.
for sure? I mean, why not give him another chance? He stated in his post game that he wants to stay there and he wants to do it again for the city of Seattle. So,
Ryan, what did you think about the game?
I thought the game went about as I thought it would. I thought Seattle would definitely make it interesting in the first half. They did. The only thing I was worried about at halftime for them was they basically played a flawless first half, and that they could have very well been down at half. That was the only thing concern I had at halftime. I thought Gino played pretty well in really I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but one of the more bigger games in his career with some of the biggest lights that he's had as a starter. I think they should extend him, like Percy said. I agree. I think there's a lot there, a lot of potential there, and a lot of room for growth. Really, his first full season. But like Percy said, those turnovers in the playoffs, this is the difference in the football game. Mental mistakes and flunders like that, they cost you. And good teams, which every team right now is good, they're all good and they're even great. So they're going to make you pay. And you just can't afford those kinds of mistakes. And it ended up hurting them. But I thought they played great in the first half. But I think they just kind of got worn down by that defense and that offensive line and running attack of the San Francisco 49ers.
One of the key matchups in this was DK Metcalf versus Charvarius Ward, one of the best cornerbacks, obviously, in the league. And DK definitely got the best of him in the first half and mostly for the game. He had 13 targets, 10 receptions, 136 yards, and 2 touchdowns, standing out really, really big. That's what DK Metcalf does. But one of the other points that we're going to hop into in a second, we're going to go here to Corey. Corey, what did you think about the game? San Francisco 41-23, not only covering the spread, but winning this one pretty convincingly.
It was just as I envisioned it would be. It was pretty close there until that fumble in the end of the third quarter. That was huge.
Now, wait a minute. And I'm sorry to cut you off, Corey, but this is the Beyond Elevated show. Okay, so on the Beyond Elevated show, we are going to hold people accountable for their predictions. And I've listened to our last week podcast about 6 or 7 times, and you did a great job. Your analysis was right on the money. But when you come back on this show the next week and you say the game went exactly the way that I thought,
you didn't let me finish what I was saying.
You said that you think it's going to win by a field goal or
okay,
and they won 41-23.
And like I was saying, it was right on track. Percy almost looked like Nostradamus. You almost got that upset, but I believe that was that fumble that changed everything and flipped momentum. And what was I'd say Kyle Shanahan and his creative play calling is going to be something to be reckoned with during these playoffs. That really carried San Francisco over the edge. And, Christian McCaffrey, he's the golden goose, So, I mean, that guy had 15 rushes for 119 yards, 2 receptions, 17 yards and a touchdown. He's golden when he gets that ball.
Ryan called that out in the pregame, by the way.
Yeah.
Thing last week. But keep going, Corey.
They had a chance. Purdy, he wasn't that great, especially in the first half. He was like 18 for 30. He still had 330 yards and 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, and they made him look like Fran Tarkington out there. And I do want to see it. I was a little disappointed with Bosa, being the Ohio State spokesman that I am. He had 3 tackles, no sacks, and I hope if they're going to beat Dallas the next round, he's definitely going to have to step his game up.
Agreed on that. I think you called out a very good point, Corey, which I want to elaborate on, and that is the greatness of Kyle Shanahan. And I think that he gets a lot of flack for the 2 Super Bowls that he lost, obviously the 28-3 miracle, and then the Super Bowl that Garoppolo lost to Mahomes in Mahomes' first Super Bowl, being up 10 with about, I think it was 6 minutes to go or something like that, and losing the Super Bowl. But we need to start looking at Kyle Shanahan as a Hall of Fame coach. I mean, it's hold on, hear me out. He is proven over and over and over again that he can get this done with basically anybody that you want to put into the quarterback position. Being 7 or 8-0 as a rookie, being on your 3rd string quarterback, finishing 2nd in the NFC, and being the favorite right now to come out of the NFC. He does this every year with either. I mean, we all know Garoppolo isn't like that. We all know that Purdy isn't. I mean, nobody wants to go in. I mean, he's Mr. Irrelevant. And I'm not taking anything away from Mr. Purdy. He's the last pick of the draft, but we've seen this before with Tom Brady. But we've never in a million years that we would have predicted that Purdy would have went 18-30 in his first playoff game for 332 and 3 touchdowns and no interceptions. That's ridiculous. It's a rookie.
So what are they going to do with Trey Lance next year? That's the question. If
Trey Lance is sitting down
next year. Next year.
I think there's 2 things, Corey. Number one is that when did he get hurt? Week 4 or 5? I think they're going to play on the he's young and we need to make sure that he's fully recovered because we don't want to send him out there like RG3. So give him the full recovery time of a year. And in the meantime, you got somebody who's going to finish at least 8-1 in their first season as a rookie. Now the question is Garoppolo's out. Purdy has proven that he can be the guy, and they're going to keep him the guy until he shows that he can't be the guy. Let's just say if Purdy starts out 7-2 next year, or let's say 3-1, do you think that they're going to sit him to bring in Lance?
But it's time to renew that 5th-year option here pretty shortly. After next year, they're going to have to make some decisions. As far as they can't keep both of those guys.
You're right about that, but I mean, if we just want to talk numbers, I think it's a numbers game. And you're going to have Purdy for the next 4 years on a
rookie deal.
Minimum.
Rookie deal, yeah.
Not just rookie. He was the last pick in the draft.
Yeah.
Right? Like what is he? Can somebody pull that up when you get a chance? Is he getting paid $150,000 a year? Like, or do you want to pay Trey Lance $4 or $5 million a year, even in his rookie deal, because he was the 3rd pick of the draft?
I haven't seen anything from Trey Lance.
I've got the numbers right here. So Brock Purdy signed a 4-year, $3.7 million deal with a signing bonus of $77,000.
He is not making $1 million a year.
No, he is making $889,000 a year, less than $1 million a year
for the next 4 years.
Yep.
What is? Can we look up Trey Lance's contract really quick?
Yep.
He's got 3 years left on it, I think. Or no, he's got 2 in an option, 2 in a team option, I think.
They're going to have to deal.
So Trey Lance signed a 4-year, $34.1 million deal, including a $23 million signing bonus, $34 million, which is guaranteed. Little bit of a difference.
I think they're going to keep Trey Lance next year to figure it out.
I think they will.
They'll keep him next year, but then, like Corey said, in 2 years, they're going to have to make a decision, but they're definitely not going to extend that if Purdy is playing anywhere near where he's playing right now. And Trey Lance is hurt. Percy, what do you think?
I think it's too soon to I know, but if I had to choose, put like this: we got film and game tape on Purdy in real time. We don't have nothing on Trey. So if I had to go off of that, gotta go with Mr. Irrelevant.
Yeah,
He's
but
about.
what? Go ahead, Corey.
I said his worth is about uh, the turkey sandwich and a hard boiled egg right now. Trey Lance. I would.
Yeah,
I
and
mean, I wouldn't want him on my team. I mean, I'd have to. I guess he could. He's going to be a career backup here shortly.
I think somebody would. I think somebody will take it. There's teams that need quarterbacks. I think somebody would take a chance on him. But you are right. How much of a chance? What would you get for him? Like a 3rd round pick? Let's move on. But I do think that's a very interesting point that you brought up, Corey. That's very good stuff there. Let's move on to the second game of the night, and this was an unbelievable game, and Percy called it right on the money. The Jacksonville Jaguars won 31-30. Percy not only called this one on the money, but he also actually, for those of you who are listening, did send us in advance the bet that he did make for Jacksonville to win the game. It didn't look good early, but they pulled it out. Percy, what did you think?
Hey man, it was hard to get that victory, but at no point was I like the game is over.
27-3. What was it? 27-3 or 20?
27-0 at one.
27-0.
And you came on our text group, and what did I reply back, Corey? I said it's not over.
Mm-hmm.
And then I made a wager that I just showed on air that I made through FanDuel, and I put $100 on the.
Nobody needs to know the amount. You won.
I put a bet on the Jaguars when they were down 27-0 on money line. That's how confident I was about this game. And I'm still a little confident going on to this week, but we'll get on to that later.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, in this game, let's move on to Ryan. Ryan, a very big comeback here by Jacksonville. One of the things that stood out to me here was the similarity here between Trevor Lawrence and Andrew Luck, coming out and throwing those 4 interceptions in his first playoff game and really just not batting an eye. That's you probably start getting a little gun shy when you come out in your first playoff game and throw 4 interceptions, but he didn't. He just powered through, ended up with 28 for 47, 288 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions. Ryan, what did you think here?
Man, I think it was a great football game, and I really counted him out in the first half. I just saw Trevor Lawrence coming out the way that in the fashion that he did. It was very obvious the moment in that first half. I think it was too big for him, and I think that's okay to say with a young quarterback making his first appearance in the playoffs at this stage of his career.
Purdy looked bad. Purdy looked bad too.
I agree, and I think that's okay to say with a young quarterback. Like, that's okay to say that. And the way that he responded in that second half was incredible to me. It just shows you this guy wants to win the game. He doesn't fold. I mean, that's as bad of a start as I've ever seen in my life in 30 years. That you're looking forward to this all week. You come out and you can't throw it to you throw. Am I wrong? He threw 3 interceptions to the same person.
Yes.
That doesn't happen very often, and I don't think we may ever see that again. But for the fact of him to keep playing and playing for his teammates in the fashion that he did, and to pull out the win is incredible to me. And I got to give credit to them. I picked the Chargers to win, but that's okay. And also, there's another story about this on the other side of the football that no one's really mentioning is the Los Angeles Chargers in that second half. I don't even want to talk about it because but their offense was they went MIA. I mean, I think I saw a few warning posts or wanted posters, missing posters on my street when I was walking the dogs earlier today. I mean, it was that bad. That's all I got to say about it. 2 polar opposite halves. Unbelievable.
It was 2 polar opposite halves. Here's a statistic for you. Trevor Lawrence in the first half, 10 for 24, 77 yards. 1 touchdown and 4 interceptions. Trevor Lawrence in the second half, 18 for 23, 211 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 144.5 passer rating. This was the third largest comeback in NFL history in the playoffs, erasing a 27-point deficit. The second one was the Indianapolis Colts versus the Kansas City Chiefs, and they came over a 28-point deficit. And we were a little young at this time.
Buffalo Bills.
Yes, sir. That's what I was going to go. Corey, what's the third one? What's the first
Buffalo Bills, Tennessee.
Houston. They didn't move to Tennessee. They didn't move to Tennessee yet. You got the right. Yeah, the Houston Oilers. And
it was down 38, wasn't they?
32 in 1992.
Good Lord.
Yeah,
Corey, what did you think? What did you think of the game?
Man, it's something that you'll never see. A team had 5 turnovers compared to the other team having no turnovers, and the team with 5 turnovers won the game. And man, that's rare. That'll never happen. And like the quarterbacks get too much of the credit and too much of the blame when they lose. Okay, so I know, Robert, you have your little Justin Herbert pom-poms, and you've been screaming his name, and he's the best, and he's this, and he's that. But it seems to me like Justin Herbert is like fool's gold. It's something. He's nice and shiny with the statistics, and you take a closer look at it, and it's just fugazi. And this guy, man, and I went back to Oregon. He lost key games when he was at Oregon. Here's his record at Oregon. As a freshman, 4-8, 7-6 the next year, 9-4 the next year.
And you're talking about Herbert right now.
I'm talking about Herbert
at
Oregon. 12-2 his last year. So I think he's an upgraded Phillip Rivers to me. That's what he is. And
but Phillip Rivers was a top 10 quarterback almost every year that it went. I mean, he wasn't average. He was above average quarterback. He was a good quarterback.
Yeah, and okay,
that's fair. That's fair.
He's a new Phillip Rivers to me. Okay. And what saved that game for Jacksonville was that Doug Peterson stayed on the ground with ETN. Mm-hmm. He had his 20 rushes and 109 yards, whereas polar opposites with the Chargers. Yeah. Eckler had 13 rushes for 35 yards, and they totally abandoned the running game, and that's why the offensive coordinator is gone now, because I believe he caught a horrible game, and they had that lead. He should have leaned on Eckler, he's a good back. Yeah. And my big issue here is with Justin Herbert, and and I just think he's. Maybe we should start putting him in a overrated category.
You know what? You are. I think it's time to start looking at that door, not opening it, but looking at it. I think that the top 5 stuff, the top 5 tier, needs to be talked about. Percy.
I mean, Brother Corey, he got to it before me. I have nothing to say. We do this every year. ESPN, everybody talks about it every year. Is it all his fault? No, Corey made a great point. They should have ran the ball. But if you look at that game closely, Ryan.
They scored 3 points in the second half. Go ahead.
That's my point. But every time they scored, they had the ball like the 40-yard line and on. Like they didn't put together a complete drive the whole game, I don't believe.
Defense, yeah.
The game was in Jacksonville. One thing that I want to point out is the amount of data and how when you are and I have to do this in my everyday job all the time, and it's really trusting the data and always using the data. And Doug Peterson, if you guys remember back in his Philadelphia days, he was one of the first coaches to really adopt that 4th and 3, 4th and 4, we're going. And then also one of the first coaches to adopt on the 4th and 2 and on the goal line to always go instead of kick the field goal, not because of him, but because he trusted his analytics guys. One call I want to point out here that is a very good analytical call that people aren't talking about enough in this game was, and I want to take the time to do it because I just want to see. I don't want to talk to you guys about what good coaching does. I think this is an out coaching thing. Fourth quarter, they were down obviously going into the fourth quarter. I believe at one point when they scored, Jacksonville was down 4. I think it was like 6 or 7 minutes left. I'll tell you exactly. Hold on. Yeah, they were down 4 with. Here, I'll break it down. Hold on one second. Just making sure we're on the same page here. This is a very important point that I want to bring up because this is where you have to always go with the data. Okay, they scored a touchdown with 5 minutes and 30 seconds left to put them down 26 to 30.
Mm-hmm.
So they're down 26 to 30 with 5 minutes to go in the game. Down 4. So the obvious decision here is to go for the extra point, right? Go for the extra point and make it a 3-point game so you can tie it. But not Doug Peterson. Doug Peterson, because of analytics and data, says that because of variable change, what he wants to do is go for 2 here. Because now if he gets in field goal position and they kick the ball, they win the game. But that's not the reason that he did it. The reason that he did it is because of the extra 4th down that you get. So you play both odds out and you look at it from a statistical standpoint on probability. Let's say that they went for the 2-point conversion and they didn't get it. He feels confident from the data because if they're down 3, then if you get in field goal range when you get the ball back, you're never going to go for it on 4th down with 1 minute to go. If you're down 3, you're going to kick, right?
Right.
But because you go for 2, even if you don't get it and you're down 4, now you're automatically going for it on 4th down regardless.
Yeah.
You get 4 downs instead of 3. That is probability being ran by their analytics team and game managers upstairs that are giving him those things. But it's one thing to know it and get it say down in your headphones. It's another thing to have the testicular fortitude to say we're down 4 with 5 minutes to go and we're going for 2.
Right.
And they get it. They get the ball back, and now they kick a field goal and win the game instead of going into overtime. Just the next level coaching, okay? Next level coaching. Go ahead, Corey.
Is it fair that Joe Lombardi loses his job and Brandon Staley
It's still there.
stays safe? Because he didn't do anything different that he's been doing all year. These guys are 29th in the league at rushing attempts. They only have 24 rushing attempts per game. They are 27th in the league in yards per game. They average 98 yards on the ground. So he didn't do anything different that he's been doing all year. That's what Justin Herbert threw for almost 5,000 yards. So they have a pass-happy offense.
Mm-hmm.
But in the playoffs, you have to run that ball. So I just think, for them to use Lombardi as a scapegoat was pretty dirty to me.
I think so too.
I agree with you, but I mean, we know that Staley is the defensive mind. I mean, he's a defensive-minded coach, and your offense scored 3 points in the second half. What's more probable? How many points did they score how many points did the Jaguars score in the second half? I'm sorry, guys. They scored 24. What's more probable? The Jacksonville Jaguars scoring 24 points and a half, or you scoring 3 points and a half? It should be the Jacksonville Jaguars scoring 24 points and a half. You can't be a good offense and score 3 points and a half in a playoff game and expect you to win a game. That's not
Percy. Now we have another excuse for Herbert. Now he's going to have a new offensive coordinator coming in. And now he has to learn the system and all this and all that. So here we go again with the excuses for Herbert.
Yeah,
Muggsy.
those
Hey,
Herbert fans, man, they sure know how
hey,
to
the
pull
the
it off.
only question that I have is, do we really like his offensive weapons? I mean, do people really like these guys? Like, are these guys great?
Um,
I mean,
I think
Keenan Allen is, but he doesn't play but 6 games a year.
well that goes back to coaching.
I agree. I think it's all on
The
coaching.
Charger fans are screaming from the top of their lungs on why would Mike Williams get hurt in Week 18
Yeah.
when they had nothing. It wouldn't have mattered if they were still getting the same playoff seed if they won or lost. So,
True.
to Corey's point, it does speak volumes to that. But we got to move on. We're spending too much time on one game, having way too much fun. And speaking of bad coaching, let's transition right into the Dolphins losing 31-34 in a game which they had. Percy. We all lost this game because we all chose Buffalo to win, but we did choose Buffalo to beat the spread, I believe, of 11 or 12. What did you think?
I didn't see it happening, unfolding like that at all. I was definitely surprised. It was even times throughout the game where Miami's quarterback, I'm like, there's no way, like they're going to run away with it. But somehow, some way, they stayed in it. Like even going into halftime, I'm like, this game, they were up 14-0 in the first 6 minutes of the game. Like I really thought that they were going to run away with it, but like we all said before, that conference football, man, the same division, they play twice a year, didn't play again in the playoffs. But I mean, they got their, I don't want to call it a fluke, but they got their fluke. It was entertaining. It was good. It was good to watch. It was, but that's all I'm gonna say about that.
Ryan?
Yeah, I didn't expect it to be that way either. But I can't put it past these guys from this conference that everyone looks down on, called the Big 12 Conference. I mean, we got another.
Here we go. Texas Tech.
Here we go. Kansas State, Skylar Thompson coming in. We got Brock Purdy. We got Pat Mahomes. We've got a lot of guys from this little old conference that everybody talks bad about. But we'll leave that for another day. But yeah, but I think that I think Skylar Thompson played pretty well. I think the coaching was actually decent. The game planning was. I don't know how great the coaching was in game, in some situational instances, but I think they were prepared for the game. And I think on the other end, I think Buffalo played like we've said most of this season. They've either played really well, or then they come and they play these games and they play down to their competition, and they squeak by. But good teams, great teams, find a way to win the close ones, even when it's ugly. So I think I'm really starting to. I know you guys have been on Diggs all year, but I'm really starting to love his game, man. I really love him on the outside. I think he's just. I don't think he gets. I know he gets credit, but I don't think he gets the love I think he deserves. But
is he top? Is he top 5, top 3? Where do you think he's at?
He's top 5.
Corey says top 5. Percy, what do you think?
I think it's top 5. Sure.
He's top 5.
I mean,
is he top 3, Ryan? In your opinion?
Oh man, so many receivers these days. Percy doesn't like the throwing the ball. I know that, but
no, forget Percy. It doesn't matter what Percy says.
I think he's in the top 5. I think he's top 5.
Is he better? Is he better than Tyreek Hill?
Yes.
I think he's a better overall receiver. I don't think he's as big of a playmaker. He's a big playmaker, but he's not electric like that.
Is he better than Jamar Chase?
Now you're starting to ask me questions that I
don't think he's better than Jamar Chase.
I don't think talent wise, but I think he's playing better right now.
Okay, that's fair.
I think he's making more of a difference, but I think Cincinnati I think they're loaded at receiver too. Don't forget that. But yeah, I did not expect it to be that close, and I think Miami's going to have to they're going to have to pick up some people and draft really well, and hope Tua stays healthy. And the QB concern is what you're thinking about going into this offseason, just after what we saw with Tua this year. And the regards and the escalation of importance for player safety after DeMar Hamlin. I think this is going to be a real issue, and it's going to need a lot of thoughtfulness and deep concern for the player. And I have a father who was a trainer at Tech, but he would tell me you have to protect the player from himself, even if it makes the player unhappy. That has to happen, and I hope they look out for him. But yeah, they're going to need a few more pieces, and I think they'll make some signings. But
I think you're right, Ryan. And we always want Tua to be healthy. We don't want any bad things happening from a health concern. But I think he has one more. I think if he gets one more concussion next year early in the season, I think it's time to really start evaluating, like, from a Miami perspective, like, what are they doing? Last thing I want to bring up before we bring Corey up to talk about the game is Ryan, you said they had a good game plan. I disagree. I think it was horrible coaching. Now, you did say they had a good game plan going in, but in game it was bad. I'm going to give you two examples on why it was bad on both. Number one, Skylar Thompson, your third quarterback, right? Even Big 12, got it, all that. And he's a rookie, correct?
yeah, either rookie or second year.
Okay. He dropped back to pass the ball 51 times.
Yeah.
He threw it 45 times, but he dropped back to pass the ball 51 times. If we're ever game planning something out as coaches together, Ryan, one day, or in anything, if we say, we're going to put out our third string quarterback that dropped back 51 times at the beginning of the game, that's a no-no. Second, last drive of the game, under 2 minutes under 2 minutes, 3rd and 4, I believe it was, run the ball, come up short, 4th and 1. Play call doesn't get in until 8 seconds on the play clock. They get no timeouts because they burned 3 timeouts that half because the play call got in late, and they had to burn timeouts to make sure they didn't get a delay of game. 4th and 1, your team is down 3 and you're at like the 45 and you're marching, and you get a delay of game because you didn't get the play. Unfireable offense.
I agree. It's also vaping. I mean, that's probably got something to do with it. But I mean, I don't know if that's real or not. But let's join the party here. Why not?
Corey?
Buffalo survived its own self-inflicted wounds and outlasted Miami. Honestly, guys, we know Miami had no chance of winning this dang on game. Even when they were driving and they had the ball in the last seconds, I knew they weren't going to get it done.
But what my question is to you, Corey, is if you are game planning, what more could you possibly ask for with 1 minute and 45 seconds and you have the ball and you're down 3 in Buffalo? Like, this is exactly where you want to be, right? Like, you have a chance to win the game. Go ahead. Corey.
Yeah. I mean, I guess you're right. Yeah, considering how everyone, we all thought it was going to be a blowout. So he threw, whenever you'd have your third string quarterback throwing 45 times, that's a recipe for disaster. And he completed 18 of them. So to me, Buffalo, I like the way, I like when they run that ball, any team, and they have a running back by committee where they had 3 running backs and they let them all touch the ball. So I think that's going to take Buffalo far in the playoffs. Especially,
are you counting? I'm assuming you're counting Josh Allen as a running back too, as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Not really. Cook had 12 carries. Singletary had 10.
No, it makes sense. No, Corey, it makes sense because, and I'm going to let you keep going, but yeah, counting Allen as a running back because they're gonna run those draws, 4 carries, 20 yards. That makes perfect sense. Keep going.
Also, I mean, Miami was 4 of 16 on third down. I mean, you're not going to win many games going 4 of 16 on third down. And but I got to tip my hat off to them. They fought tough with their third string quarterback, and I think the sky's the limit for them going into next year. All depends on Tua's health, but it looks like they're committed to him. And with the weapons they have and the draft coming up and free agency, it looks like their coach he's okay. He's starting to grow on me. He's starting to grow on me.
Okay, all right.
Me too.
Let's move on. We do want to get this show done within a reasonable amount of time, but we're just having so much fun. You guys are listening to the Beyond Elevated podcast, and believe it or not, we actually have our first sponsor that's going to be doing a commercial next week on our show. So we're really excited about that, and we'll let you guys know here as soon as possible what that sponsor is going to be. But thank you guys very much for definitely all the support. Moving on to the next game, and really kind of one of the games of the week was the Giants versus the Vikings. The Giants upset the Vikings 31-24. We're going to go to Corey first in this one because Corey wanted to be, loyal to the NFC North, and since he's a Chicago Bear fan and picked the Minnesota Vikings when we all told him that they were what did Ryan say? A facade. So Corey, the mic is yours. We're gonna give you the most time on this.
Okay, before I go to New York, okay, I just want to Minnesota down.
Wait. Can we pull a quote here? I'll read it exactly. I think that everyone needs to stop disrespecting, put some respect on Kirk Cousins' name. Okay, keep going. Sorry.
Yes, I want to continue that. It wasn't Kirk Cousins' fault. This guy was 31 or 39 for 273 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Agreed.
Kirk Cousins played a decent game. So, but Kirk Cousins is going to do what Kirk Cousins does. He's not going to do anything spectacular. He's not going to make a game-changing run or anything like that. He definitely needs help. What I am disappointed in Kirk Cousins about, though, is that last play, 4th and 8. And I know he threw it. I'm not going to get on him about throwing a 3-yard. I'm not going to get on him about that. What I'm going to get on him about is the reason he didn't throw to the open man, which was Osborne. He was open, but the play before that, Osborne dropped a big first down pass that Kirk Cousins delivered right in his chest. Yep. And I think that is the reason I think he lost faith in Osborne and he didn't throw to the open man. And he, when the rush came, he just threw the 3-yard pass instead of throwing to who he should have threw it to. And I just think he lost faith in this guy. So that's what I'm sort of disappointed in Kirk Cousins about. If you replay that last play and you see it, he was open. He had a little seam route he ran, and he was open. And Kirk Cousins was scared to throw it to him because he dropped the previous pass. So, why didn't Minnesota pressure Daniel Jones? I just don't,
because they have the worst defense in the league.
They are the worst defense in the
league. Do you want more? Their pass defense is the worst defense in the league. They're not a good team. But no, the microphone's yours.
But the New York Giants, they were, I believe they had 55 sacks this year. Mm-hmm. That's tied for the most sacks in the league. So it's obvious you should pressure them. The Giants have the 31st ranked pass defense. Why didn't Saquon Barkley and Daniel Jones is 75% of those guys' offense? And I just can't imagine why they didn't pressure him.
It's kind of like I'll give you an analogy. It's kind of like looking at that beautiful woman that you look at her and you might be at CVS or you might be like at a gas station or something, and it's like you can, it's like a newborn at Hooters. It's like I know what I'm looking at. I know what I want. I just don't know how to get it. Go ahead.
Now, don't get me wrong. I think Daniel Jones played the best game of his life.
Because the Minnesota defense is the worst defense in the league.
I can't deny that after the performance that they put up. Now, here's what I will say. I'm going to start calling him Cinderella Jones. And not to use that synonym as feminine, but Cinderella, when is the clock going to strike 12 and that carriage going to turn into a pumpkin?
Saturday night.
When are those glass slippers going to turn into that broken Converse?
Saturday night, Lincoln Financial Stadium
You,
against the Philadelphia
you
Eagles.
want to be careful because it might be 11 o'clock when they're playing Philly. And if it's not 12 o'clock yet and Cinderella Jones doesn't turn back into what he normally is, and he's been the last 2 years, Philly is in trouble. Now,
Okay. We don't have the time to get into the preview. We're probably gonna do tomorrow, same time, same place. But don't worry. Like, I've been wanting to talk about the Eagles. Do you have anything else that you want to say about
hold
this?
on, yeah, I do want to say this. Like I
Okay.
said, here's what I think as far as the Eagles made I know we're previewing this later, but he ran 17 times with Daniel Jones. 17 times, and Saquon Barkley got 9 carries. It's no way in hell that the Vikings should have lost that game. I mean, everyone knows Daniel Jones uses his legs. Why weren't they prepared for that? I don't care if you're spying. I don't care if you bring somebody up in the box. It's no reason that Daniel Jones should have ran on them for 78 yards and 70 carries.
And threw for 300.
Yeah.
Best game of his life. Will he have that again? I doubt it. But my point with the Giants is they do not use Saquon Barkley. I said this last week. 9 carries for Saquon Barkley. The best.
He did have 6. He did have 5 receptions as well.
He should touch the ball 25 times, at least 5 carries, 20 plus rushes, and that's it, man.
But I mean, but to be fair to them, right? I mean, I do agree with you. You're not far off. But to be fair is that if I'm in the analytics booth and I'm looking at it and we're dropping back and Daniel Jones is throwing for 300, 24 for 35, by the way, no interceptions, and every time he runs the ball, he's getting 4 yards per carry. What do I change? I mean, snap it and to either run. It's not like it's not in the game plan. Like you're I mean, they were running, it was obvious. I mean, they were running sweeps with the designed quarterback sweeps. It's if I'm in the booth, I'm like, I mean, we hand it off with Saquon when we have to, and they did when they needed to. Saquon scored a touchdown, didn't he? Yeah, he scored 2 touchdowns. So
they had 11 scripted quarterback runs. 6 of them were unscripted when he dropped back. Here, you know I like to cook, Robert. I'm a good chef. So here's a recipe for disaster. 50% on third down. They were 50% on third down. The Giants only punted twice in the whole game. They have
the Minnesota Vikings have the worst defense in the league. We're going to move on, Ryan. Sorry, Corey.
Yeah, I hate to say I saw this coming, but I saw this coming. But I did say come on here and say they are the worst team that I've ever seen.
12-win team that there's ever been in the history of the NFL.
They are, and they still are the first team to ever finish with a negative point differential and win that many games and go to the playoffs. So, I don't know. That's all I'm seeing is that. And then, the only thing I know, Corey's definitely, I can already tell he's definitely a better cook than the Vikings defense, because all they were cooking all day was burnt toast. I mean, they made Daniel Jones look like Michael Vick out there. I mean, he wasn't moving as fast, but I mean, there was space. I mean, there was space all over the place.
Yeah.
I mean, and we don't give Daniel Jones credit enough. I mean, he's a big dude. That ain't a small guy running at you. And he's not slow, but he's not fast. But, I mean, when you're a safety and you're 5'11", 185 pounds, and that guy's running at you, and you play for the Vikings and you already know you can't stop anybody, I mean, that's horrible. That's horrible place to be in as a football player. Now, I like their team, and I don't think I agree with you, Corey, 100%. This game isn't on Kirk Cousins at all. I think he made a few bad decisions, but this defense, until that's fixed, I'm not even going to talk about the offense. I mean, they put up the points needed to usually win a playoff game. Their defense completely failed them. That is it.
Yeah.
And it's failed them most of the year, unfortunately. But I think they're on the cusp of being good. They just, I don't know, man. They got a lot of problems on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, Howie Kendricks, I was a linebacker my whole life. Half the time I was going, where are you going? What he was going in the wrong gap. He was covering the wrong. You weren't even covering the running back out of the backfield.
He didn't
That's
want
it.
to tackle.
Oh,
He
bro.
wouldn't even make
Okay.
a tackle. I'm done. I'm done. That's it.
No,
I told y'all.
Ryan,
That's it.
Ryan, I want you to elaborate because I saw
Ugh.
it. So when they put Saquon in the gun with Daniel Jones and it was like 3rd and 6, I was like, everybody in the stadium knows.
We all know what's coming.
Right now, Saquon's coming out of the backfield and he's cutting across field. And when they highlighted it, I forget who was calling the game, but when they highlighted it and they showed the space differential from Saquon running across, it was like, I think it was in the 3rd quarter, but it was like, oh my God. It's inexcusable for him to have been matched up on him. Like,
They were scared to tackle him. They were scared to tackle him.
It was scared to tackle, and it was beyond me that they did not. They acted like they didn't know what was coming. When everybody in the stadium and watching the TV knew exactly what they were going to do.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the best passing play they have in their playbook. That's it.
How about this? How about from now on Tuesday or Wednesday in the pre-meeting, it's like, how about this? If Saquon Barkley lines up in the backfield and they are in shotgun, we will not be running man, or there is no way we are going to let the linebacker.
There is not a linebacker on this planet that can keep up with him.
It's inexcusable. It's inexcusable. Like, there's no way that could ever happen.
No,
it's not even a coverage breakdown. It's like, you shouldn't even. That should never be a matchup.
You are calling a mismatch for your own player. It is beyond bewildering, and that's why I could never pick him. As soon as they lost to the Cowboys 50-3 or wherever it was, I go, this team ain't no. Mm-mm.
How good is Justin Jefferson? You guys think?
Very
with the league.
Very
phenomenal.
Is he in top? Is he in the top 5?
He's in the top 3.
Yeah, I think so.
Top 3?
Top 5.
He's incredible.
Well, he had 25 receiving yards at the half on his first drive. I mean, and after that, the rest of the game, he had 22.
Yeah, they if you look at the percentages, they doubled him like 70% of the game.
It's like something. It's something New York should have done with Saquon Barkley. How about make somebody else beat you, and that's what they did.
Yeah, exactly. But if you're
Percy,
top 3.
Percy, you said that he's top 5. Can you please name 4 receivers that are better? I mean, because he's not top 3, he's top 5.
Yeah, I'm gonna give him top 5 because my top 5 is Jefferson, Chase, Diggs,
and Adams. You freaking homer.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I said it's gonna be Adams. You Las Vegas Raider monkey.
I'm sorry. What? I'm
Adams, Devontae
Adams.
Yeah. So I mean, he's in that. Oh, now that you say that, he's in that top 5, 6, man.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Okay, wait. Who are you gonna say? Who are you gonna say besides Devontae Adams?
Because remember, I am still a fan of DeAndre Hopkins being in the top 5.
Oh my gosh! Oh my God! Wait. Yes. Okay, so I want to make sure that you are going on the record.
Yes.
You are going on the record.
I did earlier in the season.
You did, but I just want to make sure that you later on in the season now, this is official. Get the TikTok camera ready. We are going to cut this clip. Percy, we are going to cut this clip. For the record, you were saying that DeAndre Hopkins right now on January 19th, 2023 is a better receiver than Justin Jefferson.
Yes, I am. I'm still going with DeAndre Hopkins. If I had to start a team today, let's say they were the same age. We're not going by the age gap.
No, I agree with you, Percy.
Yeah.
They're the same age. I'm going with DeAndre Hopkins all day.
I agree with you. Even if they're not the same age now, I'd agree with you.
Well, I mean, if I got to build a franchise for longevity, I'm going with Jefferson now.
You do realize that he almost broke Megatron's record this year. Oh, never mind. We'll move on. Percy, what do you think about the game?
Hey, man, you guys crushed it. I'm ready to talk when we do this next time about who they play next.
Hold on. Hey, can I say one more thing, guys?
Yeah.
You know that the Giants have one of the worst rush defenses in the league. They're number 6.
Houston, yeah. We're going to run all over them.
So why wouldn't they run Dalvin Cook, one of the best backs in the league? I'd have given him a heavy dose.
Because their coaching staff let their linebacker guard Saquon Barkley. So let's move on here.
I'm
I'm going to go to you.
disappointed in Minnesota.
I'm going to go to yeah, it was very disappointing. I'm
I
going to go to
think we
you.
all were.
I'm going to go to you here first, Ryan, because I don't really want to talk about this game. I want to move on. As the Bengals beat the Ravens 24-17. It's a tough one trying to jump over the line and getting the ball taken away from you and running it 90 yards back. And but I don't know if I really want to talk that much about the aspects of this game, and more do I want to talk about Lamar Jackson.
Right.
How do you feel about him not going to the game?
That I don't like. Football's a team sport, man. This is a 53-man effort. Whether you play or not, you have a role on that sideline. You're either going to be supportive, you're going to be ready. If you're not starting, you be ready because people go down right and left in these games. And we're going to need you maybe down the road. You got to stay focused. You got to stay prepared. And I don't know how you can do that to you and look at your teammates at the end of the season meetings when you don't show up to the football game, the one that and you want to ask for all of this money, and then you've got guys who are barely getting paid down that 53-man roster who still show up every week, even on the practice squad, and they're getting paid almost nothing. They're still showing up to work every day. They're still showing up to get the piss knocked out of them in practice. They're still showing up every day to make you better, and yet you're going to sit there and you're hurt. I understand it's a contract year, but I'm tired of the bull crap. Play football. You're a phenomenal football player. You don't need to do these things that you're doing. And I love the guy. He's one of my favorite players to watch. But guess what? You got to put your team before yourself. And you have to invest in your team for your team to invest in you. And if you don't do that, man, you can't expect the same thing and have those same standards for the front office when you aren't walking the walk, but you're just talking the talk. And that's all I'm going to say about it because I love Lamar, but he's got to get it together a little bit here. And he's got to be a better teammate. I don't like that at all, but I may be old school. That's all I have to say.
No, Ryan, and I do agree with you very much on this, but I want to make sure we clarify your message because I think you hit it right on the money. But you are referring to him just not showing up to the game, him not playing. You're just talking about him not going to the game. Okay.
Right, if you're hurt, you don't need to play. The player, that's the number one thing. I don't want anyone getting hurt. You don't need to get hurt. This is your job. You don't need to lose any mobility. You don't need to lose, concussion, any of that. You don't need that. There's risk involved. We get it. But not showing up, what does that say?
Corey?
I think Cincinnati and Lamar Jackson were extremely lucky in this game. And because Baltimore was giving them everything that they could handle. And if they would have had a little better play calling at that goal line and could have punched that in and went up 24-17, it would have been tough for Cincinnati to come back. But I will say this, when Hubbard was running that 98-yard, when he was running that back, I guarantee you Lamar was jumping for joy wherever he was watching the game at. I know he had a huge smile on his face because if they would have won that game and Huntley would have scored, he wouldn't have had as much leverage as he has right now.
I can't knowingly give you that contract when you don't. Like, I agree with you, Corey, about and we'll come right back to you, Corey. It's just like, look, man, you're not going to show up. It's not like first off, you should definitely show up to any playoff game, but like, you're the team captain and the leader of the team. Like, you're the leader of the team.
You are the face of the franchise.
Like, that this is going to be the first thing that people talk about. Like, you're really, and I really want to hear a different opinion about it. If you think that he was justified to not even go, Percy.
I mean, that's insane, man. I don't understand how you don't go with your team and travel. It's supposed to be all about the brotherhood in the locker room, and you still want that contract. I'm assuming you still want the contract. Well, you didn't really show it by not showing up. So, I'm at a loss of words with that one.
You think he's pouting? Or if he's very upset with the organization and he's played his last day in Baltimore, that's maybe what that's pointing towards. But
And that's
I'm sure
fine.
they're
And
going to
that's fine if
franchise
you,
tag him.
and that's okay if you are
Right.
upset. I don't disagree with that. But for you have friends in that locker room,
Yes.
right? Like, you know for a fact that this is all the press is going to be talking about. You know that it's a distraction on the pregame conversations from what the press are asking, and then bringing it up from Lamar not being here. You have a rookie quarterback who might need you in the headset, like, who might be able to tell you when you come to the sideline, like, hey, listen, look out for this. I played the Bengals 13 times in my career. Look out for this and look out for this. You're doing a lot.
He would have
I'm not
destroyed his leverage, Robert. If he would have done that, he has no leverage. He's negotiating. He wants that
You
back.
you think that him going, I'm not saying playing, I'm saying going and wearing a jacket on the sideline hurts him from getting paid next year.
I
Wearing a
think
jacket at the sideline.
I brought this up to you last week. Do you think that the players on that team are more upset with management, or are they looking at Lamar Jackson saying, "Hey, you're not being I wish you were there fighting with us." You heard what J.K. Dobbins said after the game.
If Lamar was playing, we would have won. But I think that that's more of a thing on management. Agreed with you on that.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I think you're making a statement by not. You're making a very serious statement by not supporting the team. Like, it's different if you don't want to support management and not show up for the they would be reporting all over that, saying like he didn't even show up for his final interview or the last things or blah. But when you don't show up for a playoff game,
That shows negotiations were very ugly, and he had a bad taste in his mouth with that organization. That proves it right there. More importantly, if I was a Bengals fan, I would be so nervous right now going into that game with Buffalo. Just how they played. I know sometimes the first round is about just escaping, but they didn't really look good. They were they were too pass happy. Joe Mixon touched the ball 11 times.
Mhm.
11 times. So they're not going to beat Buffalo like that. They're going to have that guy touch the ball more and be more diverse with their play calling.
Jamar Chase again in a playoff game shows up, 9 receptions, 84 yards, and a touchdown. He shows up every playoff game. Okay, so last game here, because I want to wrap this up in about 2 or 3 minutes. We're going to move on. We're going to go to you, Ryan, first, you Cowboy fan. Congratulations. And Percy, we know you called it. It's not saying that you didn't call it, and we're going to give you your chance to go. But Ryan is actually a Cowboys fan. Ryan, you had some very tough words to say about Dak Prescott deservingly last week.
I did.
He showed up.
He showed up big time. And, I love when I get proven wrong because that means we're successful. And that's okay with me. And I'm never going to complain about that. But I thought that's the best complete game he's played in maybe a couple years, in honesty. I mean, just being able to throw the football after starting the way that he started in the first 2 drives, which I was one of them. I was going, here we go again. and then he started moving the ball, hitting different targets, throwing it to CD. And I like the play calling a little bit better. I still wish they would run the ball more, but that's neither here nor there. They had a game plan for success, and they did that. Also, I know we talked about Tom Brady. I respect him more than anybody in this league. He's done a lot for the league. He's one of the greatest champions in sports, not just football. And I think it's just time. Time beats everybody, man. Time beat Michael Jordan. Time beat, anybody that you talk about who's great or the greatest of all time or any of this. Time beats them every time. So I think at 45 years old, I wouldn't be shocked if he comes back. But with Leftwich being fired, I don't see him in Tampa Bay next year, and that's just my opinion. But good for Mike McCarthy, and good for Dak Prescott. I was really happy with the defense as well. But I just think I think Tom was moving at a different speed than what the game was really being played at that night.
This
And I think
is one of the first times that I really saw that. I agree with you.
that's
Like
that's what
I saw when Micah Parsons got through in the first quarter and like gave him like a little rush and he tried to take 2 steps and throw it and the ball came like 8 yards short. I was like, oh man, like
he's just getting rid of it. He's just doesn't want to get hit. Yeah, and
yeah.
You know, at 45 years old, almost to 50, I probably wouldn't either. But
I wouldn't want to get hit now.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to get hit as a 22-year-old. But but I can't disrespect him. I know we were talking about his Bible and all that last week, but yeah, I just think times are changing, and all good things must come to an end, and he's going to go down as probably the greatest champion to play the game. Unless long after I'm gone, somebody else does it. But that's all I gotta say. And on to San Francisco. It's going to be tough.
We're trying to do the preview tomorrow at the same time. Percy, I'll let you go for a little bit. Cowboys, you called it. This really wasn't a game. I feel kind of bad. I think the coaching staff and the other players kind of let Tom Brady down. Didn't really give him the maximum effort. When you're saying goodbye to a legend like that, I think you need to kind of like you guys should be giving it a little bit more effort. Percy, what do you think?
No, I totally agree with you, man. The game went the way I thought it was going to go, but the way they play for Tom, that was terrible, man. That was terrible. But I cannot wait till the next show because they've got some more upsets coming this weekend, gentlemen.
Corey?
I think Dallas's defense really took them over the edge. I'm like you. I'm disappointed in the coaching at Tampa Bay. When they were getting through like that, you got to put an extra tight end there, put some backs back. You make Max protect, and they just were throwing a lot of hitches and a lot of screens, trying to beat the pressure instead of throwing the ball downfield and push the ball downfield. It was 6-0. They got to the goal line, Tampa Bay. I'm talking about. To the 3-yard line, they were only down 6-0. What did they do? Pass on first down, almost intercepted. Pass on second down, incomplete. Pass on third down, intercepted. You're at the 3-yard line. You got Leonard Fournette. Let him earn his money. I would have ran 4 straight times, and that could have changed the whole complexity of that game if they would have went up 7-6, and we could have been looking at a different game. So, that play.
You want to talk about one more point to your point, Corey. You want to talk about greatness? Did you see that stat? It was the first interception that he threw in the red zone since he started at Tampa. Like
2000 and something, 6.
No, since he's been playing at Tampa Bay for 3 years.
Yeah,
the first interception that he's thrown on Tampa Bay in the red zone. It's like, what the hell? Does this exist? But go ahead, Corey.
Now, they waited too long to push the ball down the field because in the fourth quarter, they start doing it a little bit and they start moving the ball. But I know Dallas backed off of them a little bit and start playing prevent. My question is this. So Brady did look 45. He was inaccurate at times, but
please don't get Percy hype. Please don't
Ryan
get Percy hype.
said this last week about
please don't say Percy. Please don't get Percy hype. Please, Corey, don't get Percy hype.
Now, hold on. No, Ryan was, you said everyone's not meant to be a head coach.
I agree. Yeah.
That was your feeling.
I think the same thing about Todd Bowles. No.
I think the same thing about Todd Bowles. They need to check him on the sideline to see if he has a pulse. He's just the type of guy. I mean, he just has no energy and no enthusiasm whatsoever. He's a defensive coordinator, and if they let him be the head coach again next year, which it looks like they will, they're going to have another losing season, especially if Tom Brady goes.
Corey, you did say a very good point when you said that Ryan said that not everybody's meant to be a head coach. You know who he was referring to in that situation.
He was Josh McDaniels that we were talking about last week.
Absolutely.
And I'm talking about Todd Bowles this week.
Well, I know, but you know what the word on the street is with the Las Vegas Raiders, right?
What?
Who was the offensive coordinator for almost all of Tom Brady's Super Bowls?
Josh McDaniels. I know
he's a free agent.
He's going to go to Las Vegas. That's the word on the street, right? Him and Gronk is going to come back and go to Las Vegas, right?
I hope he doesn't.
That's the word on the street.
Correct.
He's
Okay,
too
okay.
stoic for me, man. He just has no emotion, no aggression.
Yeah, I'm with you.
He's 32 and 49 as
Yeah.
a head coach in the
Yeah.
NFL, bro.
Black on
His
black
first
crime.
season with the Jets and the Tennessee. Besides, he's been losing, man.
I
Yeah.
agree. I agree. He needs to go. He needs to go. I know you got to go, Corey. I want to wrap this up.
Let me say one more thing. Can I say
ahead.
one more thing
Go
before we
ahead.
wrap it up?
Yeah.
Isn't this Tom Brady's fault? Because didn't he push Bruce Arians out? Because he didn't like Bruce Arians calling him out in that tough style of coaching, but it worked. And then he retired, and then as soon as Bruce Arians stepped down, then he unretired. And I know the judo instructor's flipping his wife around, and he's flipping her and tossing her all on the mattress. And you know, isn't it his fault that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were inconsistent this year?
He is a judo instructor, and he has been a judo instructor for them for years. No, I love the response. It was like,
He's
okay,
been
so he's been
since
flipping her around
2019.
for years. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, I want to do same time, same place tomorrow because we do want to do the preview show. So I'll hit you guys up on the text message. Percy, can you close us out here?
Hey man, another good show, gentlemen. I appreciate you guys coming on again, Corey. Thank you very much, man. But get your homework done tonight, gentlemen, because tomorrow let's come ready to get it going. Let's pop off a little bit tomorrow. Let's make it more entertaining in the upset city for that one of those NFC East teams this weekend.
Yeah, you better hope it doesn't strike 12.
Cinderella's
coming.
I can't wait to talk about the Eagles. Listen, all right, we'll talk soon. Hey, what time do the Bears play this weekend?
No. Whoa.
Talk to you guys in a little bit.
Whoa.